Hello. Welcome back to Tint Free. I'm your host, Tyler Zorro, and here on Tint Free, we like to shed light on any and all things on God's green earth. But let me first apologize for my absence. Things have just been pretty hectic, and just between everything going on, I just really haven't had time to focus on this. I recorded this episode 2.5 months ago, beginning of August, and I think it was a pretty good episode, but I just had my doubts about some things and kind of just held me back from finishing this. So I did decide to pull out one section of the podcast, just something I talked on that I really wanted to share. And I hope you all enjoy it. Hope you all get something from it. In the meantime, I appreciate you checking back in. If you listen to the audio version, whether on Spotify, Audible, whatever, just stop for a little bit, go to Apple Podcasts, rate it 5 stars, leave a review, and then hop over to the YouTube version, like, comment, subscribe, check out any other videos. I really appreciate it. In the meantime, I really do appreciate you checking back in, and I hope we get to continue this, and let me know what you think. Peace. Questions for today. If you don't follow me on Instagram, it's at Tyler Zorro. Sometimes on Instagram, I'll put a poll up or like one of those like questions on the story, asking what topics or what questions you want me to go on to talk about on Tint Free. So Justine asked me, first question was, what are my thoughts on marriage? So my thoughts on marriage, I don't think it's like a very unique view. I'm still kind of developing my own thoughts on marriage because, of course, growing up, I always imagine myself getting married in the future because that's what everybody's doing. That's what's in the plan of what do you call it? The American dream. Get married, 2 kids, a dog, white picket fence, this and that, right? So it's definitely something that like I guess I look forward to, that I expect to happen. And marriage itself, it's a beautiful thing, of course. When two people can come together and dedicate themselves to one another, and then also publicly make it known to other people that they love and care for each other enough to put everything they have together and plan to make a life with each other, to grow with each other. Like, that's a beautiful thing to me, and that's something that I very much look forward to. On the other hand, one of my like problems with marriage, mostly it's not even marriage itself. It's distant from the whole like passion and love for each other. It's actually the legalities and the more technical, financial, social, economic side of it. Because getting married, like I said, combines different things, mainly your finances and whatnot, right? So I kind of wish that like marriage didn't always have to be a legal thing. Combining accounts, money, loans, credit, all that different stuff. It's that's stuff that I have to learn, and kind of I'm gonna have to endure it if I do get married. And it's not necessarily that it's a stressful situation. It's more so the fact that like, does the marriage go wrong, or even if the marriage does happen and like one person isn't as passionate as the other, all that stuff can get jumbled. It can get very confusing. Like, even the fact that people can marry just for money, not because they actually love this person or that they actually believe that they can create a life together happily, at least. It's that the benefits of getting married, you get to enjoy this person's income, you get to enjoy this person's lifestyle and things like that. Not that like I think it's an issue that I have to deal with. It's more so just the fact that it happens in society. Like, I feel like that marriage is supposed to be a lifelong thing, and it should only be like a one-time thing. Like, maybe that's like a Christian value that I've developed. But like, yeah, I mean, like, who wants to get remarried? Like, who wants to get divorced and remarried? No one wants to. No one wants to. But it's the fact that like sometimes you're not gonna be able to avoid it. There are people who can't avoid it because things just don't go right. They may think that they're in love, or one person is just using the other person, and then they get married, and then years down the line they either realize that they really don't like each other, they don't love each other enough to keep going with it, And sometimes they'll force themselves to just stick with it. Maybe it's because they have kids, something like that, so they'll just do it anyway. Or maybe it turns into a huge fallout and it just becomes an issue forever. And like I said, like for some people it's unavoidable. You can't really prepare for it. And if you have to divorce and go through all that stuff, like it's I get that it's tough. So like I definitely pray for anybody who's going through things like that or who does go through things like that. It's not an easy thing. Um, I would I would just hope that people don't end up in that position at all. And I just wish I feel like it happens because of the whole benefits of marriage. Getting married, getting somebody's finances, also the some of the legal stuff that I mentioned. Having to have a lawyer there, uh, different agreements to if things go wrong, and it's just like nah, like it should. I feel like marriage should mostly be a spiritual thing. It should be all about the love and the care for the other person, dedication to each other, dedication to themselves while supporting the other, that type of stuff. So that's just those are like my initial thoughts on it. In addition to that, I had a conversation with the homeboy Andy a couple months ago, a while ago. I don't know exactly when it was, but we ended up talking about marriage. We ended up talking about who we would marry, not exactly the person, because if we were talking about the person exactly, my wife would have to be Tinashe. Let's just get that out the way now. But more so the type of person that we would see ourselves with. So when it comes to talking about marriage, you have to have some type of standard. You have to have some type of experience with each other to know for sure that this is who you want to be for the rest of your life. Especially because marriage should usually come after some hardships. Like for you to know that something is solid, you have to go through some hardships. It can't always be peachy. It can't always be what do you call it? What's it called? The honey. It can't always be honeymoon phase, like that type of stuff, right? It can't always be peachy. Like there are definitely going to be some hardships that come along. Whether it starts with one individual just going through some hard things with life and the other person having to be there to help support and maybe like that I understand that relationship has to be tried. It has to have some challenges that they go through and that makes both the people stronger and love each other more. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes the relationship dies, because of those hardships, and that's fine. But when it comes to understanding that y'all actually want to get married with each other, that has to be something that has to have happened. That has to be understood, right? So we end up talking about me and Andy end up talking about the type of person that we see ourselves with. So for me, I think it's something that we both agreed on. It's something I assume that other people would agree on. Um, at least most people. But if you were to marry somebody, you would hope that they're kind of similar to you. Not exactly in like personality and stuff like that, but more so just I guess the maturity is one thing. Like you have to be with somebody who is as mature as you. And not exactly like I'm not talking about like you know, like jokes or personality maturity, but more so just like mature about life and things like that. Like they have to have a good understanding of life, understanding that it could be. I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but the person that you see yourself with has to be in the kind of same mental space as you. Understanding that you both have things that you strive for or that you both want to work for, a plan or a goal in the future. Like there has to be something that y'all both have to have in order for the relationship to actually work out and kind of be forever, right? So mentally or professionally, even maybe you may not be exactly where you want to be in life, but you're still striving to do so. You have the motivation and the dedication and the patience to understand that you're going to get where you want to be. That you're going to figure things out at some point. Kind of having that hope and intention for yourself in the future. You yourself has that, and your partner has to have that as well, right? So professionally, that's one thing, or just like in life in general. Uh, it also does help to have similar personalities and morals and whatnot. But like I said, like um, you kind of have to have some type of hardships at some point. Of course, like don't force a hardship, but it's understand that it's going to come and understand that it's going to take some doing to kind of get through it, right? And sometimes those hardships can come when you have people who have different personalities, like, right? You can have different morals, but your morals should never collide with each other on a regular, and no one should be stressing themselves out to kind of, I guess, impress the other person or to kind of be on that level. You should always be true to yourself for one thing, and you can definitely have some type of different like opinions on certain things, but as long as those opinions aren't always leading to some type of argument or some type of difference in the future, like you can definitely have your own opinion. You can be your own person. You can be true to yourself and have your understandings or your feelings about certain things. But as long as y'all can actually talk about it and y'all can actually kind of understand where the other person is coming from, that's good, without it turning into, a whole full blown argument or some political discussion about this, and that, right? Just those types of things. I feel like those are the things that you have to understand about marrying somebody. So you have to be with somebody who can understand that, who can understand your feelings, respect your feelings, and, be able to be in the same room and still love each other while having differences. That's totally fine, right? Um, so I'm gonna check my notes real quick because I wrote some more things. I feel like I'm skipping out just a teensy bit. Um, oh, another thing is just well, like I said, but like being true to yourself is one thing, but um, the other person, your partner, has to be supportive of that, right? Like like my relationship history isn't deep enough like that. Like I'm only 23, so I haven't had super serious relationships, nothing like that. I've had some serious relationships, but nothing that was like super like, oh, life, we're gonna be together, that type of stuff, forever, that type of stuff, right? You might have said that, but that was some kiddie stuff. I mean, but like I said, you have to be true to yourself, and your partner has to be supportive of the fact that like you're still your own individual. Like I said, it can't always be that honeymoon phase of always want to be on each other, being super close all the time. Like that stuff's cool in the beginning, but at some point, boundaries have to be understood. It can be physical, it can be emotional, those types of things that are just like like don't invade this unless kind of like it shouldn't be like a terms or conditions, but or it can be, but it shouldn't be harsh, nothing like that. Shouldn't be um unreasonable either, but having those just those understandings that you know you're your own person, that you have things that you have to take care of in life, that you can't always be around this person, that you have to go out and still learn about yourself and learn about the world, as long as you're both being respectful of each other. That's the one thing that I feel like has to be reiterated, you know, because some people talk about exploration in a whole different way. And, you know, as long as you still respecting the other person while still allowing yourself to learn and grow, that is amazing, especially if the other person understands that that's what you want to do, that's what you have to do, and then you doing the same for them, understand that that's what they have to do as well. And of course, being there to encourage and support them through everything throughout life, because people can go through things on their own that they can't always talk about, but as long as you're being supportive and you're actually trying to help them through it, that's amazing. It's just things like that. I feel like those are the simple, I guess, conditions in a relationship. I don't know. I don't like the word conditions, but you know what I mean. Like just kind of like the quality of the relationship. That's things that I feel like are important. So that being said, again, I feel like those are things that I feel like people totally agree with. But I also had a very unique thought. Um, so you can choose the person you date for a lot of different reasons. It can be the personality, the way they look, um, what they do, maybe just a lot of things that make you attracted to a person or whatnot, right? Um, so one of these just unique thoughts that I had that I never really thought about before, um, is, and it's not like this is, and it definitely isn't like the deciding factor. This is just a thought that I've had, but kind of thinking about the race and the ethnic background of your potential spouse. So to go more in depth, throughout high school, throughout middle school, even, I dated whoever I liked. It didn't matter what they look like or uh, like it didn't matter like their background, like their race, color of their skin. It didn't matter to me, right? I just wanted to enjoy dating people. Um, also developed such a high interest in other cultures. Like a lot of people know that like I have a huge interest in Latin American culture, a little bit of Spanish culture. So so people always make the joke that like, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but like that I have a thing for Latinas. Maybe I do, but it's not like I only see myself with Latinas, but like I actually always kind of imagine myself marrying somebody of a completely different race than my own. So someone who's not black, not African American, um, or at least not African American. I'm not gonna say not black, but not African American. Like somebody who's not from the U.S. who also isn't a black American, right? And it's not, and it's of course. Let me clear this up because I feel like people are already thinking in their heads that like it's not that I have anything against black women. Of course, I love my sisters. Like I said, I just had so much interest in other cultures that I kind of envision myself being in other places, other countries, other cultures to the point where like I had a high chance to be with somebody of another culture than being with someone of another culture than being with someone of my own. Again, not that I have anything against black women, that I have anything against black people. I love my people, love my sisters. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't have a preference. This is just what I thought going through high school, through college. This is what I thought, right? So saying all that, the thing is, my perspective has changed so much that like I could still see myself being with somebody for the rest of my life, that person being of a different background, right? But I kind of realized that one, of course, like I said, I don't know who I'm gonna be with, but two, I realized that like I am probably gonna be the most comfortable and the most, I guess, relatable with. I'm probably gonna be the most compatible with someone who is black, right? And for me to explain that, um, I have to talk about how I kind of came about that realization. Maybe it's because I've just been learning so much more about myself, about my culture, about Black Americans, the history of all that, that I've kind of just developed certain feelings towards this country and how it treats Black people for one, and then my feelings towards how I envision myself for the rest of my life, like who I'm going to be around, type of people I'm going to be around, the type of person I want to raise kids with, things like that, right? Maybe it's because the voice of Black Americans has gotten so loud and so much more stronger and passionate in the US over the past couple years. Like it's always been strong, but I feel like because of social media and the things that have happened in the news has made Black Americans so much more louder, prouder, and just more out there, right? Maybe I keep thinking about the fact that if if I do end up marrying somebody of another culture, another background, race, whether white, Latina, Asian, East Asian, South Asian, African, I'm saying everything that's out there, right? If they're not black, then I'm gonna get that Dr. Umar look where he steps into the camera. He's just, are you serious, my brother? Like if I get that, I'm gonna feel a little weird, right? If I get that reaction from people, right? But that's like it's a lot less that factor, but but literally, but there is that pressure, right? To be with someone who is the most like you, right? Race, religion, culture, background, uh, maybe even occupations or just all these different potential things that can kind of put some type of pressure on you about who you want to be with, right? And you know, in the U.S., I feel like people are becoming more free and open to things like that, especially because us in the U.S. we have such a big focus on being your own self, your own individual, to the point where like sometimes you don't gotta when you grow up you don't gotta always pay attention to what your family says and things like that because you're your own person, right? But I know in some cultures it's like that, where like it's super serious what your family says and what they mean. So you kind of don't have an option as to how big your range of who you can marry because it's probably going to be in a small demographic anyway, right? So I feel like that's also there, right? But to get back to the point that I was making, that I feel like I would be most comfortable with a black woman is because a black woman probably understands me the most in terms of my life experiences, my feelings as a black American, towards the rest of the country, to white America, to society, to all the pressures and all the unspoken things that black people have to go through, that person, that black woman is probably going to understand me the most and be the easiest person to talk to about things like that and be able to work with me on things like that. Not to say that somebody of another race couldn't be able to handle those conversations or to handle that type of feelings that emotions that I'm probably going to go through throughout life, because there's a lot more things I have to go through where race, my background is probably going to play a factor in my thoughts and my feelings. Not to say that somebody of another race can't handle that, but like I said, the person who's going to understand me the most is probably going to be a black person, of course, right? So like, of course, I don't think there's anything wrong with marrying somebody of another race or background. I totally I'm all for it. As long as you respect your own, as long as you respect yourself, you respect your culture, your family, people you represent, all that stuff. Like, don't ever deny who you are, where you come from, for sure, right? I feel like somebody of another race and culture could definitely understand where you're coming from with enough, talking about it and being willing to understand each other and things like that. Because it's also gonna be on your end too if they have another race or culture, trying to understand like their feelings and where they come from and things like that. Especially for minorities, like I feel like minorities, we just deal with so much stuff in this country that uh you can't just talk to anybody about sometimes because they may not understand what you're talking about. And and I feel like this is how it probably feels for a lot of different people, whether you're Hispanic, you know, Latino, Asian, like everything that I said before. Like, like you're probably gonna feel comfortable marrying somebody of the same race and background because you're probably going to understand each other the absolute most. Especially when it comes to living life, because sometimes the way you live life can be very influenced by your race and your background. Like me as a black man, like one, I'm very concerned about my well being anytime I step outside because of a lot of different factors. It could be police, it could be other black people, it could be other minorities, random white guys on the street. Like they sometimes people scare me. Like if I'm in a place where I feel like I've never been before, I don't feel comfortable, I'm gonna get scared, right? Because of my skin. Well, other people might feel more comfortable in that area, things like that, right? Or even the potential discrimination that we might face and having to understand that I may or may not go through moments where people may discriminate against me, and I have to understand that like I can I can react a lot of different ways, but one way that I know that I cannot react, that will not be the best for me to react, is being the angry, aggressive, uh, not quotation marks, the angry, aggressive black man, because of how people will view me for that, right? And those types of pressures probably won't be most understood by a white person for sure, but anybody who isn't black as well, right? People get treated differently for their race, and people get discriminated against like all the time. But it's just like I have that's just a few things, but I have so many different things I have to think about when I'm out in public or when I have to make decisions for my life and things like that, right? So, just all those different things I have to think about. I know for sure a sister would definitely understand where I'm coming from and be the most easiest to talk to and kind of get through things about that because she's probably also going through the same types of things, right? So again, it's not that I don't feel like somebody of another race could understand me and whatnot, but in terms of being true to myself, I just be the most comfortable in that position, right? So, you know, don't really know what's going to happen, um, but hey, I will say, of course, love who you love, enjoy life. You don't even have to like consider that type of thing. Like right now, if you're just dating, go ahead, like enjoy yourself. Date whoever from wherever, go wherever, enjoy yourself. Of course, always respect yourself and respect your culture, where you come from, and things like that. Most important things I can say for sure, right? Um, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but like, living a life together involves more than just your relationship and things like that. It's a relationship with families, raising kids, neighborhood you decide to move your family to, and things like that. All that different stuff plays a factor, and sometimes race and background can kind of be an influencer or a factor to think about, but it should not be a deciding factor. I mean, it can be, but it shouldn't always be. For some people, it can be a deciding factor. Like they have to marry this race, someone of this ethnic background, uh, this nationality even. I was something I forgot to mention earlier is that like, it can be regardless of religion. Like sometimes people marry because someone has to have the same religion, and that's understandable. Uh, Especially when it comes to morals and kind of like how you live life and things like that, how you view things. That's important for sure. But I feel like it shouldn't be a deciding factor. Things like that shouldn't be a deciding factor. Most important thing for me is the type of person that you're with. Who they are as a person, their personality, their life goals and things like that. That's what I feel like is most important when it comes to a marriage. So